Today is episode 1 of what me and my dog eat in a day as 5-year carnivores. So this is a brand new series I'm starting, and what this series is going to be about is exactly that. It's going to be about what I eat in a day, what I feed my dog in a day as 5-year carnivores. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Jacob, and Apex is all about humans and dogs and the foods that bonded us, which is meat. And the reason I landed on carnivore 5 years ago, back in April 2019, is because in 2017, I had my health completely destroyed. I went from 230 to 145 in about 6 months' time. I lost 12 years of muscle that I'd gained in 6 months. And I had a plethora of chronic conditions. I had a heart condition. I had all kinds of really bad stuff that plagued my life for over a year. And going carnivore and adopting a carnivore diet, I was able to heal all that and completely recover and essentially live my best life. I am thriving now. I'm going on 40 years old this year, and I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I adopted my dog to the same diet around that same time frame, and we're both absolutely thriving on a carnivore diet. So in this series of videos, which I'm probably going to end up running for about 30 days, I'm going to log, track, and share exactly what I eat and exactly what I feed my dog every single day. And the way I'm going to structure this, I'm going to make it as comprehensive, straight to the point, no fluff, no filler, and as simplistic as possible. So I'm going to try and keep the videos brief. Again, it's basically just going to be me showing you what I consume. Everything I eat, doesn't matter what it is. If it goes in my body, I'm going to track it and I'm going to share it with you. And the same goes for my dog. I'm going to be 100% transparent, and I'm sharing everything down to the microgram, what I'm putting in my body and what is going in my dog's body. I'm also going to be tracking my daily activity, like my daily movement, how much I move. I'm not going to show you like my entire exercise routine, but I'm going to give you a general overview of the exercises I did for the day and how long it took me. So if I do an hour of weight training or if I walk a mile, I'm going to share that. And I think that's important because that ties into my nutrient intake. You know, if I'm moving more, I'm going to be burning more food. I'm going to be burning more energy. And you'll hear me talk about food in terms of nutrition, in terms of nutrients and energy. You won't hear me talk much about calories because we don't consume calories, we consume food, we consume nutrition. So there's a big distinction there. Now I'm going to show you my calories, and that's going to be part of what I track. But from my experience, nutrition and nutrients are far more important than calories. So the way I'm going to structure these videos, I'm just going to take you through every single day, again for at least 30 days, and show you exactly what I eat. And then at the end of each video, I'm going to show you the nutrient breakdown, the nutritional information for the day. And I'm also going to include things like the cost. So how much it's costing me to feed myself and to feed my dog every single day. And as we go along with this, you're going to see that there's going to be some holes in the nutrition. And as I progress and as I continue to make these videos, I'm going to address that. And I'm going to try to structure meals and build a nutrition plan that is as nutritionally complete as possible using only animal foods and animal products. My plan is to try and build a way of eating on carnivore using only carnivore foods that fulfills all of the fundamental requirements that we need to thrive. So this should be a pretty interesting experiment. And again, I've been doing carnivore for 5 years, so I know my way around the carnivore foods now, and I know if I'm not getting something in my diet, I kind of know right off the bat what I need to include to fill that void. And that's essentially what I'm going to be doing. And I'm just going to be taking you along with me as I do that, with the intention of helping you structure a meal plan that contains all of the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you and your dog need to thrive. And if by the end of this experiment, there's still holes in nutrition, there's still voids, there's still things I'm lacking, we're going to address that. We're going to talk about it. And if there are still nutritional deficiencies, we're going to talk about why it may or may not be that much of an issue and potential solutions to make sure that you are getting your RDA and all of the essential vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you need to thrive. So before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the future videos in this series. So in essence, this whole series is going to be a blueprint on how to optimize the carnivore diet to make it as rounded and as balanced and as nutrient dense as possible for both you and your dog. So the first thing I do every single morning when I get up is put magnesium on my skin. And if you know my story, which many of you do, you'll know that when I was sick, I had a really bad heart condition. I had supraventricular tachycardia, abnormal heart rhythm. I had heart palpitations all the time. I had a really, really tough time with that. So magnesium therapy is very important to me because most modern food is completely void of magnesium. We would normally get it through water and we would get it through contact with the earth. And we really don't get it through water anymore either. and we wear shoes. So it's very important to me to include that in my routine. And the best way to absorb magnesium is through the skin. Now, the magnesium I use is actually something I developed myself because I tried a lot of products out there and everything either just didn't work that well or would dry your skin out. This is something I've been kind of working on perfecting the past couple years, getting it tuned in for me. And I'm actually going to be sharing that with the world here pretty soon. It's a product I'm going to be launching. So if you're interested in that, if you need magnesium, because magnesium is extremely important, most Americans are deficient in magnesium, definitely be on the lookout for that. I'm going to post that on Apex soon, and I'm pretty excited about sharing that with everybody. So the second most important thing I do when I get up is consume 32 ounces of water. I'm about to work out here, and during my workout, I'll probably drink at least one of these, maybe 1.5. And then after I get done my workout and I've hydrated, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to cook some food. That's going to be my first meal for the day. It's going to be very basic. All right, my workout's complete. I just downed 32 ounces, just refilled my bottle. Today was an upper day, so I basically did a bunch of compound movements for my upper body, and I train at a pretty high intensity, so I would almost call it like high intensity training as well, because I do a lot of supersetting, which is essentially doing like exercises back to back. I'll usually do like a push exercise and a pull exercise on top of that. And I kind of double up that way. And it allows me to train at a pretty high intensity as well as not exhausting the muscle. It still allows like the push muscle to rest while I'm doing the pull muscle and vice versa. So that's just the way I'm training right now. I switch it up quite a bit. So I'm not always training that way, but for this week and probably the next couple weeks, this is probably how I'll be training. So with my workout done, it's time to eat. I'm gonna have my first meal of the day. I'm gonna go up and cook that right now. Okay, so for the first meal of the day, I'm a simple guy. It's gonna be a very simple meal, all right? I'm making, I think it's right at 19 ounces ground beef. So this ground beef is from my local butcher shop, Boone's Butcher Shop out of Bardstown, Kentucky. It's my favorite butcher shop in the state. And I would say this is probably like 75-25, but it's gonna be quite a bit leaner because I'm gonna drain off the liquid fat. Now, after my workout, I usually don't like to consume a ton of fat. So I'll have this burger, which will have some fat in there, but I'm gonna strain a lot of it off. And I'll probably add like a tablespoon or two of butter with that. But my first meal, I usually like to be pretty lean. That way I get hungry later and I'll still be able to consume my second meal, which is gonna be my largest meal of the day. And that's where I load down on fat. And the only other food I'll be consuming, my post-workout meal, is gonna be 1 pint of bone broth slushy. And more or less, I just let this sit out for a while and let it kind of thaw out, and then I kind of crumbled it up. And I'll consume this frozen like a slushy because I just got done working out, kind of hot, so it's gonna be real nice to have this. So this is homemade bone broth, extremely healing, especially post-workout. There's tons of essential amino acids in there, collagen, glucosamine, chondroitin, all that good stuff. So that's gonna pair very nicely with my ground beef. All right, meal one about to be in the books. So I got 2 tablespoons of butter, got my bone broth, got some pink Himalayan salt, and my 19 ounces ground beef. Now when I log this, I'll probably log it as like 85-15 because I did strain a lot of the fat off. But I'll use that fat later because I think I'm gonna have venison for dinner. So the grand total for this meal, I got this ground beef for $2.99 a pound, is $3.55. Because the bone broth was free. I made that myself. I guess you could say the butter is a couple cents. I'll add that in there. And then whatever salt I use, maybe a penny. But $3.60 or so, $3.70 for breakfast. It's pretty darn cheap. So far, I'm under $5 for the day, and I only have one meal to go. We'll see how that one goes. All right, so I'm getting ready for meal 2, but I gotta feed my dog first because she's queen around here. She kind of runs this place, so she eats before I do. Now I kind of have her meal structure figured out, and I'll flash some information on the screen that will give you an idea on exactly how I structure her meals, and that's just a general guideline that I follow to make sure that her meals are balanced and properly proportioned. Now she gets roughly 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of food every single day, depending on how active she is. And that's about what I have right here. So I've got a chicken back, I've got some ground beef, this is like 80-20. I've got some butcher blend, this has heart, kidney, liver, and a bunch of odd cuts from a couple different kinds of animals in there. I think it's mostly like beef and pork. I have some chicken gizzards in here, I've got 2 chicken feet, and I have a chicken leg quarter that I'm going to debone and take out the long leg bones, and then I'm going to leave the back. And I have some bone broth that is mostly chicken and beef. So this is going to make up her entire meal. And one important thing to note is that I don't give my dog secreting organs every single meal. When I was doing that, she had a really hard time with it. She got really sick. And by weaning her off that and just including them like once a week or so, it's really optimized her health. And she doesn't have bad reactions like she did when I was including those with every single meal. And this butcher blend has quite a bit of organ in there, and you can see that's a pretty small amount. Secreting organs should only make up about 2% of the dog's diet anyway, so that's probably about what this is. And again, this also contains a bunch of other meats, you know, odd cuts. So there's collagen in there from the tendon and meat as well. So this is what her meal is going to consist of. And you can pretty much expect roughly this same thing almost every single night. I will switch it up occasionally, and I'll add in things like tripe. I'll add in some heart, kidney, liver. But again, I only do that like once, maybe twice a week at the most. And that is what seems to work very well for my dog. All right, my chicken's deboned. I will keep these bones and use these for bone broth. So I'll put these in a baggie and put them in the freezer. And this chicken back I will feed to her tomorrow because I already have at least 1.5 pounds, probably close to 2 pounds of food here. So this is going to be all I need for her meal. And I pour this hot broth right over the cold food to bring it up to about room temperature. And as soon as this cools down, I'm going to feed it. And I am going to add 1/4 teaspoon of colostrum, which I've been adding here lately, and she really likes this stuff. She does very well with it. Ton of benefits from that. And I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of eggshell powder. I've been doing this recently also, and I've seen some pretty awesome benefits as far as her energy level goes and just her, I guess you would say, spunk. She seems to really be getting on pretty well with this. So I just sprinkle that over the top, and then 1/4 teaspoon of colostrum. Sprinkle that over the top, and that's ready. All right, it's finally dinner time for me. Dog's fed, I'm about to grub out. So this is exactly what I'm gonna have for my second and last meal of the day. All right, so I've got 5 ounces of beef fat trimmings. This is from a local butcher shop. And I've got 16 ounces of venison. And I'm gonna let you in on my secret on how I grind this venison up into hamburger. It's very simple. And if you have a Ninja or a food processor, it's a very easy way to do this where you don't have to use a meat grinder. It takes like 5 seconds. Now the first thing I do is cut my venison up into strips and small pieces. And this is still slightly frozen, which is important if you're gonna use the method I'm about to show you. And the reason I'm grinding this up is because this is actually neck and there's a lot of tendon in here, so it's gonna be very tough and difficult to chew. So that's why I'm making it into burger. All right, so to grind this up, I've got a Ninja here, 900 watt Ninja. I'm just gonna put some chunks in this here. I'm gonna put the lid on this thing, and I'm gonna grind it up in this Ninja. Now again, it's important to have this slightly frozen, otherwise it's gonna get caught on the blades. So with it slightly frozen, it should pulverize it, should tear it up really quick and easy. Alright, 16 ounces of venison is ready to cook. Alright, so I'm preheating my cast iron skillet. Now this is the beef fat I strained off my beef this morning, my ground beef. I'm just going to cut me out a section of this, and I'm going to just throw this right in the pan. And I'll probably go ahead and actually use 2 pieces here because venison is very lean, and I like to eat pretty high fat for my last meal of the day, so that's what I'm doing here. Now the first thing I'm going to add in here is my beef fat trimmings. I'm going to let these render down for a second. I don't cook them too long But as soon as they render down and I get some fat in the pan, that's when I'm going to throw my ground venison in there, and I'm going to fry those patties in all this fat. So I do cook my meat pretty rare, so I'm just searing the outside of these venison burgers, and they're going to be blue on the inside. And I did finish off another bottle and a half of water earlier, so that puts me at about 80 to 85 ounces for the day. All right, so my food's done. I'm ready to grub out. So I've got my venison patties swimming in fat, kept all the fat on there. I got my beef fat trimmings cooked to perfection. I've got 1 stick of butter, pink Himalayan salt, and that's it. I'm ready to grub out. Now, as far as cost, the beef fat trimmings I got for $3.29 a pound, which this is kind of faded, but you can see it right here on this tag. So 5 ounces of that is $1.02. I got this, a box of 4 for $5, so it's $1.25. So the cost for this entire meal, because I sourced my venison from my backyard, is $2.27. So combine that with breakfast this morning, which that one cost about $3.70. I was able to eat for a full day over 2 pounds of food for less than $6, roughly about $5.97. And when we go through the nutrient breakdown for this, you're going to see that most of the essential nutrients that we need to thrive, the RDAs for those have been met. So if you ever hear anybody say that carnivore is not affordable and it's too expensive, this right here just proved that that is not a fact. All right, so I forgot I had some extra sharp cheddar in there that I need to finish off. This is Cabot Farms. This was $3, and then I also had some Tillamook cream cheese. I'm trying to finish all this stuff off because I'm planning on cutting out dairy and just going back to basically just strict meat, salt, and water. So I'm going to finish that off. So this was $3, this was $3. So, you know, a couple ounces here, add another $2. So still $7-8, not bad for a full day of eating on a carnivore diet. All right, I did the absolute best I could do. I got about 2 ounces of fat left and a half a stick of butter. So one of the things I learned pretty early on in my carnivore journey is to eat intuitively. I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. I never force myself to eat more than I need. All right, so finally, let's go over my food log for the day. So in terms of calories, quote unquote calories, I consumed 4,759 calories. All right, so I'm 6'1". I weigh about 175 pounds, I think, right now. And by all intents and purposes, that's a lot of calories, according to the mainstream anyway. And according to my daily tracker, which I am using Chronometer, by the way, I am over a calorie surplus of 1,674 calories. That's after exercise, all that stuff. So, you know, they say that a calorie surplus of over 500, then you should actually gain weight. You should gain, you know, fat, muscle, whatever. But I eat this pretty consistently every single day, and I don't gain weight. So I mean, that's why I don't like talking in terms of calories, because I really don't think calories matter that much when you're being properly nourished. So anyway, moving on. So protein is at 30%, fat is at 69%, and I've got 1% carbs, and that's most likely because of the dairy I had, the cheese and stuff. So this is right around where I would normally eat. I didn't plan out my meals. You know, I just basically got the food out and I cooked it up, how much I thought I would eat, and I ate until I was full. And this is basically what it came down to. I've tracked my food several times over the 5 years I've been carnivore, and it's pretty consistently been about 70-30. And that's pretty optimal for me. So that's 70% fat, 30% protein. So I assume that is probably my optimal way of eating. All right, so moving on. In terms of protein, I consume 338 grams of protein and 369 grams of fat. I met and exceeded my goal on both of those. Fiber is basically zero. I'm showing like 1%, which is good because we don't really need fiber. And I think I'm a testament to that, because when I was eating fiber, I had a lot of problems, and now I don't have the problems. Vitamin C is basically zero. I've got like 1% vitamin C. Now, I'm not concerned with this, because if you have been following carnivore for a while, you'll probably know that people that don't eat sugars, they don't eat carbohydrates, tend to need a lot less vitamin C than someone who doesn't consume those things. And if I wanted to bump up my vitamin C, I mean, I could easily eat something like clams. I could eat more grass-fed beef. I could include pork liver, trout, salmon roe, things like that. That would bump my vitamin C up, and that would give me plenty of vitamin C for being on a carnivore diet. And again, I've been eating this way for 5 years, and I've never had a problem with vitamin C deficiency, so I'm not concerned with that. And one important note about a lot of these food trackers like Cronometer and stuff, it really depends on the food you're inputting, because the same food can have different values, and it really depends on how it was entered in the system. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you use these food trackers. All right, so iron, I'm maxed out on that. I'm at like 483%. Calcium, I got 79%. If I wanted to bump that up to 100%, I could include some eggshell powder. That'd be a really easy way to do that. Or like bone-in fish, like sardines, or a little bit more cheese. That would do the trick too. Folate is low. That's at 15%. All right, if I wanted to get more folate, I could include things like eggs or liver, and that should bump me up pretty well. Again, these were very basic meals. I didn't have any organ meats. It was basically meat, fat, salt, and water. Vitamin A is a little low. I'm at 70% on that one. I could include some liver, eggs, dairy, some fatty fish. That would bump me up on that one. Potassium's good. All my B vitamins are basically maxed out. The only one that's a little low is B1. I'm not concerned about that because it's at 94%. Vitamin D is low. It's at 10%. If I wanted to get more nutritional vitamin D, I could just include like eggs, liver, or more dairy, and that would bump that up as well. But I spent about 2 hours out in the sun. I got plenty of vitamin D, so I'm not concerned with that. Vitamin E is low. I'm at 37% on that one. That's another one I'm not too concerned with because I could easily bump that up by including seafood, fatty fish, trout, salmon, chicken, pork, things like that. That would bump that one way up. Vitamin K, also low, 24%. Also not concerned. Again, this was a very basic day of eating. So if I wanted to bump up my vitamin K, I could include things like cheese, liver, eggs, butter, and poultry. That would bump that up as well. Copper's good. I'm maxed out on that one. Magnesium is low at 69%. So I'm not concerned with magnesium because, again, food is not the best source of magnesium. And for the foods that are highest in magnesium, which are plant foods, the magnesium is actually bound up by anti-nutrients in the plant. So food is just not a good source of magnesium. And that's why I do magnesium therapy in the morning. So I'm good there. Manganese is pretty low at 12%. This is another one I'm not too concerned with because I could easily bump that up by including things like oysters and mussels, which are extremely high in manganese, and I happen to love both of those, so no issues there. Omega-6 is low at 38%, which is good because omega-6 is pro-inflammatory, whereas omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, and my omega-3 is maxed out, so I'm good there. And as far as all the other stuff, I mean, saturated fat's high. I'm good with that because we need saturated fat. It's very good for us. All of the proteins, the essential amino acids are all maxed out. And I would say that for a very basic day of eating, not including much dairy, not including any organs, and just basically eating meat, fat, salt, and water, this is a pretty balanced way of eating already. I mean, today's meal is maxed out most of the RDAs. Now, obviously, there are some holes here. There's some stuff that's a little bit low that we missed the mark on. But as I go along with this, I'm going to include a lot of those other foods I talked about, and we're going to see if we can kind of round that out. Because if you truly want a fully rounded and balanced diet using only animal products, that could be kind of important. And looking at this now and seeing how complete this diet already is, just including the things I have, I really don't think it's going to be that hard to do. All right, so that's the end of day one. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the future episodes, and I'll see you on day 2. All right, peace out.